are eligible for Medicaid. In Pennsylvania, you'll go in and you'll have maybe 5 or 6 choices. We're one of the choices. So that's what my company does. But what they pay me to do is to go out and do health ed programs. I also do like health fairs. I'll go set up tables, like you see there's big health fairs at the school. And I also participate in any community agency collaborative meetings. So Huntingdon County has a prevention network, a drug prevention network. They have a community Huntingdon County Health and Welfare, I think, or something like that. They change names in all these counties. But I do cover Huntingdon County. Just lost that for a second.
Yeah. Are you in every county?
I am I cover Huntingdon, Bedford, Blair, Cambria, Somerset.
Okay.
I was covering Franklin, Fulton, and Adams as well, but they did recently hire someone to cover those counties. But there are, I want to say 13 of me across the state that covers all the counties. We're all on one team. Like I said, we don't go out and, other than wearing it and passing out information, I can't sign people up for insurance. I don't try to persuade anybody into all sign up for that's not my job. They have people that do that. What I do is basically do these education programs for free. And it's literally community outreach. So if Deb would call and say she's having an event at the library, and even if, whether it's education like this, or if they just want to have something in the summertime where they have people come in or agencies come in to give information, I can do all that. I basically do whatever Deb or anyone in the community would need help with. So whether that's volunteering, whether that's trying to help with sponsorship money for events, whether that's doing health ed programs. So like I was saying, I cover Huntingdon, Bedford, Blair, Cambria, Somerset. I live in Huntingdon County. I'm actually from Shea Gap. So I graduated from Juniata. And then I went to IUP, got my master's. And I've been doing this for a little over a year. Hello.
Hi.
So I've been doing this for a little over a year. My master's is in adult education, so I like that aspect. I like the teaching. I like the travel. What I really like is the ability to go out and do things to help people. A lot of companies say, well, you work here so much, you can chip in and help with United Way, or you can chip in and help with these agencies. Whereas this company says, go out and do these things. You don't have to donate or do this, go out and do good things. So that is what's really appealing to me in this job. And that's what's appealing to most people that keep this job, is they like the ability to actually go out and help people. I'm not sitting behind a desk most days. I'm usually traveling, actually 4 days a week. I'm on the road. Usually Fridays or Mondays, I'll pick one of the days where I'll sit at home and do computer work. But the other 4 days, I'm in those 5 counties, either doing these or going to collaborative meetings and things like that. So that's a little bit about me. I think you were here last time I was here now. All right, just to catch up, my name is Dave. David, whatever you want to call me. I'm a community health educator for AmeriHealth Caritas, which is an MCO, Medicaid insurance company. And they pay me to go around and do health ed programs.
And we're all gonna come out healthy, is that right?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I can give you the information, but some of the actions have to be on your part. I could get up here. It's just like one of the doctors. He tell you, hey, you need to stop all those things you love. And it's like, I'm not quite as drastic as that, but I give you some helpful hints, like maybe avoid or moderate some of those things you love to the point where it's not bad for you. I am type 2 diabetic, so that's another thing that sort of helps me with some of these, because they're helpful hints for me, and they're things that I believe in because I have to try to help. make myself healthier. With that being said, what we're talking about today, and this isn't like a lecture, so please, if you have a question, if you want to have a conversation, just stop. It's a small enough group. I probably didn't lose it there. But anyway, I don't try to just lecture and make it one-sided. I'd like these things to be two-sided. So if you have questions, if you have comments, if you have things that, oh, I've tried that, it didn't work, or I tried that, that did work for me. Please share with us, because I'm interested in learning, but I'm also interested in making this a two-way conversation. So I do have a PowerPoint. I'll go through it, sort of helps keep me on track. It's called 25 Ways to Wellness, I think was the title of the actual program. But we're going to talk about, I think it is roughly 25 different quick hit subjects. First of all, eating healthy. The reason this is probably the first slide is that's probably the most important. What you put into your body has a lasting effect on how you feel.
And we're sitting here in chips.
We have water though.
But you have water. The wraps are a better option as opposed to say white bread or things like that. And they are wraps, they're not, I didn't see any like fried food in them, or like, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm eating healthy, I had a salad. What kind of salad? Chicken salad with French fries and chicken strips on top. Okay, well, that's not the healthiest salad to have.
And I just hid my Diet Coke.
Diet Coke, we'll talk a little bit about those things. But to eat healthy, the FDA has updated nutrition facts. And they've updated some of their materials. I remember when I was a kid, it was the big triangle, and you had to have so many on each level, the little food pyramid, they called it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, they've sort of done away with the food pyramid or rearranged it a little bit, because over time they realize that some things maybe aren't as healthy in that aspect. So they do change a little bit. Like I said, they do have updated facts on food packaging, and I'm pretty sure, let me grab one. Most everything you buy in a grocery store has the nutrition facts on it now. Unless you go to some like a smaller mom and pop type store, like Pace, like the Amish, they may not have all this. But the FDA does regulate, if you're selling these food products, you know, like nationally, across state lines and all that kind of stuff, you have to have these nutrition facts. And they have to be pretty accurate, like they do check on these. The nutrition facts are there for your benefit. Not because the company wants to put them on there, not because, you know, the FDA says, oh, it makes us feel better if you put it on. It's there for your benefit. And we'll talk a little bit. I'm going to borrow this bag of chips here eventually. And we'll talk a little bit about the things on it. It includes the calories. That's usually the biggest number, because that's what a lot of times people are concerned with. Serving size. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. The daily value, that's the percentages over here on right hand side, my left. Any added sugars, vitamins, potassium, and nutrition facts are usually in large bold print. As you can see, total fat, cholesterol, sodium, total carbs, protein, they're in large bold print to stick out, easier to read. What I do want to mention, something I said about going back to serving size. Pay attention to serving size, because a lot of times people grab things and be like, oh, that's one serving, whereas you may say, these are nice, neat, one serving size. But a lot of times, you know, I always thought there's a can of Pringles, that's one setting, right? You just eat that can of Pringles, that's one serving size. Turns out there's like 12 servings in there. It's like, well, who's eating all these? So yes, please pay attention. A lot of times on things like Pringles now that I've noticed, and other chip type items, they will tell you roughly how many chips is a serving size. You know, because it used to be like so many ounces, and people are like, I'm not gonna take it and weigh out how many ounces
Right.
in a serving size. So if you read the Pringles can, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the serving size is 12 crisps or 12 chips, as they call it. But a lot of the chip things and pretzel things now say X amount of chips or X amount of pretzels as a serving size. So please pay attention, because a lot of times when you read these numbers, they're almost always based on serving size. Sometimes you may have a container size, like with chocolate milk. Chocolate milk in those small bottles is still, I believe, 2 servings. So if you read over it, it'll give you the information of 1 serving and then the information of what's in the whole bottle altogether, if you would drink it all at once. Not everybody does that. I just know that, like Gallagher's milk, when I have those, that they tell you both what's in the serving size and what's in the full bottle. But most places won't tell you both. You sort of have to figure that out. They're usually, like I said, done by serving size. Here is your little food pyramid that we all remember. So when I'm talking more about eating healthy, paying attention to what's on there, it's also important to eat a balanced diet. We'll talk a little bit about what goes into a balanced diet here. I'll see the next one. So I'll get into details as to what we need. Things that they've eliminated is, like, we used to be told to have a serving of dairy almost with every meal. Now it's 1 serving of dairy a day. It's usually not there with every meal. And that may be a glass of milk, slice of cheese, anything, or a couple slices, however it may be a serving size. But now they're saying about 1 serving of
That looks like more carbs than fruits and vegetables.
It does, it is. Down at the bottom is a lot of carbs. This is the pyramid that I think, because we used to have, what we have here is, it looks like carbs, but it's grains.
Okay.
It's whole wheat bread.
Okay.
It's the pastas are like veggie pastas or whole grain pastas, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Yes, you don't want to eat a bunch of carbs like just bread, white bread. I'm diabetic, was diagnosed about a year ago, type 2 diabetic. And it wasn't because I ate candy bars and that I love sweets. It's because I love bread and pasta and sweet drinks, lemonades, iced teas. Never was one who just went and ate a bunch of candy, but there was so much sugar in, like, lemonades, iced teas, sweet teas. And when you just eat things like breads and pastas 3-4 times a week, maybe twice a day sometimes, that's where you get into trouble with the diabetes. So we talked a little bit about eating healthy, eating a balanced diet, healthy weight, trying to maintain a healthy weight. These all sort of fall under what we eat. Check your BMI. They require me to say that. There are a lot of things that I don't agree with, because the BMI, if you follow that, 90% of us are overweight.
Oh, I know.
Right.
Yes, if not quote unquote obese.
Yeah,
Which
no,
is like,
I fall in the obese
and
category, and I carry all my weight below my
yes,
waist. And
Yes.
so that's not where
Yeah.
it's problematic.
yeah, and
And
my daughter is 11 going on 12, or so she'll be 12 in June or July. When I was a kid, she's not what you would say overweight by any means, but according to her body mass index, she is borderline obese.
Mhm.
And it's like she doesn't have this, she's heavier, but she's also taller. Like she's a head taller than most kids in her class. But even with her height, her weight, because she's a little thicker like I was growing up, they borderline obese.
And she's hitting that age for young girls where they go through that.
Yes, that's what yes.
It's developmental. I remember my daughter going through that. It's
Yes.
developmental.
So BMI, I'm required to mention and say, but take take that information with a grain of salt. I'm not gonna say that about the rest of the information. The rest of the information is very pertinent, very important, and can make a big difference. The BMI a lot of times is, I don't wanna say nonsense, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Because like I say, you can look at certain people and go, that person is not obese. Like that person is a healthy weight for their size, their age, whatever they, you know, their point in life that they're going through. So, but you still should maintain a healthy weight. And the best way to do that is to talk to your doctor. Just make sure what's best for you as far as your body type. They know your medical history better than anybody, so they can tell you like, okay, you're according to BMI, you may be overweight, but you're right where you need to be for whatever health issues or things you may have going on. Eating fruits and vegetables. The FDA now recommends 4.5 cups every day of fruits and vegetables. We'll get up to this plate here in a second. It seems very drastic. They ask you to choose fruits and vegetables that are colorful. Brighter color usually means that there's different. There's like different. I don't know what the word is I want to use. The brighter the color and the variety of the color means that you will get different nutrients from those things. If you eat all greens, you're going to get that fiber, you're going to get things like that, but you may miss out on something else that you would get from like tomatoes. And we'll talk a little bit about what those other things are too. Fats, sugar, and salt. Everyone's 3 favorite things. Please moderate what your intake is. We'll talk about what's good, what's bad. Choose fats that are found in things like fish, nuts, and vegetables. Those are what you would call natural fats, things like that. Look for things that are low in saturated fat or trans fat. Look for things that are low in cholesterol, low in sodium. Again, these are things that our doctors have been telling us for years. Don't oversalt. That was another big issue that can lead to things like high blood pressure. You know, and if you get the high blood pressure, then you're in the realm of possible diabetes, stroke, heart disease, things like that.
What's interesting, I think, with the salt is if you watch cooking shows, and I don't watch many, but they just salt things up like
They
crazy.
just salt it up.
Need to bring out all the flavor.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
okay, so it's, and I read something that sometimes salt even gets a bad rap.
Yes, yes.
To a little bit, but it's just kind of like, that's hard.
It is hard. And I think a lot of times that what we don't see in those cooking shows is where they're getting their food and their products. A lot of it's probably fresh or fresher, whereas if you get things from the supermarket here, most of the time it has preservatives. It has salt already added to it that helps preserve it. So when you salt on top of that again, that's where you get into the ballpark of oversaturating with salt or using too much sodium. But yes, you gotta have a little bit to do that. But again, it's moderation. It's the pinch of salt shouldn't be like my daughter does on her French fries. Go ahead.
Oh, all these salts now. Is there one that's better? Like you've got sea salt, Himalayan salt,
Yes.
salt.
Right, yeah.
To be honest, there are salts that are better.
Oh, really?
Yes, the pink Himalayan salt is probably your best bet to be healthy.
I
Yes,
gave that to my son for Christmas last year.
yes. It is.
That's for it, I just thought it'd be good for it.
Yes, it is.
For myself.
Yes, the pink Himalayan salt is better than just your everyday table salt that you would get
With the little girl
with
at
the
the umbrella.
umbrella, the Morton. Yeah, that's what we grew up with.
Oh, yeah.
And like I said,
I'm the only one.
the salt shakers were over on the table, but when my mom cooked above the stove was that big can of salt, and it was just everything she made, salt, right
I
on.
used to do that. I don't do that.
Yes. The pink Himalayan salt,
Can you
sometimes,
bake with that too? I'm so sorry.
can you bake with
No,
it?
with Himalayan.
I have, yes, like I haven't had any problems with it. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I had trouble making that I had to
I
go
was
back.
just up at Trader Joe's yesterday, they probably had it there.
Trader Joe's probably would have.
I'm sure.
Most places
Who knows?
are starting to carry it now,
Okay, so
even
it could be giant.
Giant, Walmart. I think you just got some. No, you're fine.
I didn't expect to see it there, I got it, so.
Yeah, that's fine. Now, that's what I want this sort of to be, is a two-way conversation. So yes, there are healthier salts or healthier sodium options. There's also, you can look, there are, I don't want to call fake salt, but there's things like fake salt. Like it's like sodium that
Like
you can add.
accent, or there used to be something called accent or something.
Yeah,
A long time ago.
yes.
It's me, I'm sure, I don't know.
No, I agree. I like
No.
that. Yeah.
Whatever that was.
No, you are correct, yes, and I think that's still what it's called. If I'm not- I don't remember, but yes, there are alternatives to that.
What about all those rubs that are out? My husband loves to like rub
The
on.
rubs are very delicious, and they usually have salt in them already. So if you go to use them sparingly, or maybe not use them sparingly, add salt sparingly, because there's already some sodium and salt in those rubs that they put in there. In fact, a lot of it is sodium and salt, like seasoned salts, things like that, which are very high in sodium. So there are, yes, there's some sodium in there. Read the labels. It is the best way to know which ones are going to be slightly better or more healthy for you. Your question?
Oh, I just said, when you're cooking on your own, if you use herbs and spices, then you maybe can cut down the sauce because you have the flavor of the herbs and
Yeah.
spices. So you have that flavor, so
And
a little salt, but not. maybe-
yes, and that's what my doctor has recommended over the years, is to try to add the flavor with other herbs if possible. Fresh herbs preferably, but dried herbs too,
Right.
as opposed to
One
just.
we've had for 10 years.
Yeah, I know.
How long do they last?
I know.
Not long, but it's the same way. I know my mother has had a container this big. They used to own a restaurant. And they had these big containers at this restaurant, and she still has this one of oregano that she still uses. And they sold that restaurant in 1999.
Oh, my gosh.
So she's had this oregano for 23 years. I've already bought her new ones and put up there. She just, he reaches in there, I'm gonna use it up. They're still. Like,
Reality is the thing, now little ones.
unless you're gonna roll that up and smoke it somehow, you're not going through all that oregano in the next, you're 81 years old, you got enough. But things like that, yes, try to do herbs, preferably fresh if possible, and spices like that. But if not, dried is a good option, and try to use those as opposed to just salting it up. Because that's what my dad used to do, just salt everything up. He's dead now. He died from heart issues over 20 years ago. And sodium salt was one of his weaknesses, and that was one of his problems.
I'm sorry, Dave, just along. So different salts have different sodium, so we're looking for the sodium.
You look, it should have a different sodium level or a percentage to it. Same with seasoned salt or seasonal, if you look at them. And like I say, most of them will be on your nutrition facts on the side to give you an idea.
I'm just curious, why are onions under fats and sugars? Is that onions there?
Yeah.
The purple
Oh,
ones
yes,
at
the
bottom,
purple
or
ones. Yeah, down here. Why are they under fat, sugars, and salts?
Well, the avocados have fat in them. What other vegetables have fat in them?
Nuts would have some sort of fat in them.
Maybe they have sugar.
I don't know if they have sugar, but I want to see, they might have a certain type of fat.
No, that's okay, that's okay.
Yeah,
I was just
I was-
curious.
They're gonna come up,
They certainly add flavor.
they certainly add flavor.
Yeah.
And again, it's something that that you can, if you can add something like onion powder, which still would have some sodium in it, or even a fresh onion as opposed to adding the onion powder or something with the higher levels of salt, just for the flavor. This is the updated plate, so to speak, that the FDA recommends. 50% of your plate, they want to be fruits and vegetables. Most of that, they want to be vegetables. Reasons being, we'll talk a little bit, fruits contain some natural sugars and things like that. But they want half your plate to be fruits and vegetables now. A quarter of it to be protein, that's your meat, and a quarter of it to be grains. And they prefer like fiber, like whole grains, not white bread or things like that, or fried tortillas. So try to use whole grains if you're going to use pastas, breads, tortillas, things like that. Make your plate half your plate fruits and vegetables. The other half is grains, whole grains, and lean protein. Eat plenty of calcium-rich foods like low-fat yogurt. Not necessarily drink a whole big glass of milk or chocolate milk. Try to use the yogurt. It has some probiotics in it that sort of help your gut out. I will say, we were just talking about this earlier. If you're calcium deficient or if your calcium drops, it can cause a seizure. I was just sharing with the group before everyone walked in. My daughter's mother is on her way to the hospital right now because her calcium dropped and she started to seizure this morning. So it can happen from being too low. I've known about this for a few months, that this could happen. This is the first time it's happened to her. She's going through some other things like some cancer treatments and things, but her calcium dropped to the point where she had a seizure and ended up getting life flighted this morning. So prayers that she's okay and that all works out, but that's just how quick something can happen. She felt fine yesterday. Those symptoms this morning, she said she was feeling a little weak, looked a little pale, and then by the time I got back, she was full seizure in an ambulance, and she couldn't communicate at that point. So calcium is another thing to just sort of pay attention to, but they do recommend you do it in things like yogurt as opposed to ice cream, because ice cream has some of that too. But
Well, they just, real
Yes.
quick, is that, will you have a slide, like it says, eat plenty of calcium-rich foods, okay, that's dairy. You said something about only one dairy a day. So what other kinds of foods are calcium-rich?
What I meant one serving of dairy, I meant the drink. It's to drink one serving of dairy,
Oh.
milk. Yogurt, you could have more than one a day, of course. Cheese would have some calcium. You're right, mostly dairy products. But I guess I should specify that a little bit better. When they're talking about the serving of dairy, they're talking about a glass of milk. And I might even mention cheese, but I'm sorry if I just did. But like a big glass of milk. So if you have one of those for breakfast, they really recommend that you drink water as far as to hydrate or to drink with your meals. Try to think what other calcium rich come on top of my head. Let me think about that. We'll go on. I don't know if it's in the slide. If not, I have some papers that we can pull up.
And it's still when you serve a pasta, so you can get whole grain pasta, or sometimes they have a pasta with vegetables.
Yes.
I don't know whether that makes it better or not. I forget just what it was that I saw. It had an actual vegetable in it. Maybe it was some kind of beef.
Yes, it does make it better. Like I said, I was a huge pasta person. With the pasta now, I can't just go buy any pasta off the shelf because it spikes my sugar. What I have found is the vegetable pasta, which it's made out of veggies. The everything is lower. The sodium's lower. The carbs are lower. It's just overall a healthier option. It's still got some carbs. So again, if you eat a lot of it, it would still raise your sugar, because everything you eat, whether it has sugar in it or not, once it goes into your body, it gets turned into sugar, or your insulin turns it into glucose, which turns it into energy. That's where you get energy from eating and things like that. That's where the sugar rush comes from. People would eat a candy bar or something to get that energy real quick, but then they usually have that crash. Because it doesn't, your body doesn't have to take as long to turn that into sugar. Whereas if you eat carbs, it takes time for your body to turn that into usable sugar or usable energy. That makes sense. Whereas if you just eat a candy bar and the sugar goes in, that's how you get that instant rush, or that instant perk, so to speak, that people talk about, a sugar rush. Because your body doesn't have to turn it into sugar, it doesn't digest. The thing with the carbs is if you eat the pasta and test your sugar right away, it's not going to show up, because your sugar's not going to go up. Yes, you've got to wait an hour to 2 hours to test, and then that'll give you an accurate reading as to where your sugar is from that food. Because I know a lot of people would say, well, pasta didn't affect my sugar, because I would eat, and then when I was done eating, I would check my sugar, and it was still good. You got to give your body time to digest that. Give it an hour or two. My doctor recommends 2 hours, then check. That'll give you a more accurate reading as to what that is done. But the veggie pasta has been a great option. Can't tell the difference. My daughter can't tell the difference. I can't tell the difference. And the same with things like pizza or bread. You can get cauliflower crust. Best Way does a cauliflower crust pizza if you ever go over there. They sell them at Giant and Walmart. Again, if I told my daughter that the pizza we were eating had cauliflower crust, she would think and gag. I don't tell her, she eats it just normal. Like, yeah, it's good. You can't tell the difference. And I'm one who was a skeptic too. Same with the veggie pasta. I'm like, I don't know about these. They're all different colors and it looks, tastes phenomenal, tastes the same.
You put the sauce on.
Why don't you put the sauce on? And again, that's another thing that you have to pay attention to in the sauce. Because when you read your box of pasta, you're like, okay, well, it only has this amount of carbs and this amount of sodium. Okay, well, when you're gonna put sauce on it, you gotta add that to it. So when you're looking at your daily serving size or your daily quantities, make sure you add them together, because you're going to mix them. So a lot of times that's another thing that people quote forgot to do. They were watching the carbs on the box or the calories on the box and adding that. Okay, but you added sauce, so that adds more calories to it as well. Parmesan again, Parmesan and all of that. And if you want meatballs or you throw a protein in there, and again, it changes it and increases those things. So just be very careful. Another thing that people that isn't on here, serving size.
Yes.
When you, and this is what I've been used to all my life, is I go to a restaurant and I order a bowl of pasta and they're like, oh, would you like a salad? Which I usually don't, but they bring you out a nice little pasta salad like this. And then they bring you out a bowl of pasta. It's so good and steamy hot. Actuality, serving size should be what fits in the palm of your hand. So if you can't fit it in the palm of your hand, quote unquote, it's too much. My doctor still, pounds that into me all the time. Your doctor, just to clarify, because everybody's different. Everybody may be on a different diet or a different program. But the best thing is to ask your doctor. Most of them will tell you what fits in the palm of your hand. We should be having a salad that comes out in that big bowl, and that pasta should be what could fit in your hand. And they don't mean like both hands. Trust me, I tried that. She's like, no, one hand. And she's like, and not one hand spread out like that. One cupped hand. That should be your serving size. which for someone like me who's always eaten the big meals, that was depressing and eye-opening at the same time,
Mhm.
but it really makes a difference. Being active, we talked a lot about food, and I don't want to get too far along here. I will find some answers because I don't see any more about the calcium-rich foods, but I'm sure I have some paperwork, but we'll get to that. Moving on to stay on time, being active. That's basically the second biggest thing. We talked about food, what you put in your body is medicine. Food is medicine. What you do with that food is the next most important thing. Stay active. You can't eat all these meals and expect to live a healthy life if you just go from the recliner to the restroom to bed, all day long. I have family. I have my girlfriend's mother who has Parkinson's, and it's very hard for her to move, but she got stuck in this rut of just going from the bed to the recliner, and then her food's brought to her, the drinks are brought to her. If she needs to go to the restroom, they have to get her up and help her to the restroom, and then right back in the recliner. And that's where she sits all day. And it's affected her health. At this point now, she's in a nursing home so that she can get the extra help. Her husband just couldn't do it anymore because the longer you stay in that routine, the weaker you will get and the more health problems you will amass, you'll gain. She got to the point where she couldn't get herself up out of the chair, where she couldn't get into the bathroom by herself. And like I said, her husband, he's older too. He's unable to do all that. So she's in a nursing home now until she can show that she can be active. So that's why activity is very important. We'll get back here. Physical activity is anything to get your body moving. According to a 2008 physical activity guidelines, and I'll slide over here so you guys don't feel like I'm standing in front of it. You need to do 2 types of physical activity each week to improve your health: aerobic and muscle strengthening. Basically something to get muscles stretched and your heart racing, and something to strengthen your muscles. A lot of times people get scared of this, and that's what she did. She has Parkinson's. She's fall risk. She was scared to get up into 2 activities because to her, that's what exercise meant. You had to get up, jumping jacks, or walk. There are exercises that you can do sitting in your chair, and we go to senior centers and try to help them with this. If you're marching, knee lifts they call it, or marching, pulling your legs up high as you can get them, low or not. So you pull them up. Stretches, sitting in the chair. Again, don't put yourself where you think you're gonna fall out, but just lifting your arms above your head, holding it for 30 seconds.
Over here, let me show
You know,
Come here, just so you know.
Twists. You can do twists in the chair like this. Again, that's strengthening muscles, it's stretching those muscles. Those types of physical activities will immensely help you as opposed to just sitting still watching TV. If you're sitting there, you might as well do anything. I know that they have those pedals now that you get. My girlfriend has one. So she's at the desk working at the computer. She can pedal on it. Again, it gets your heart racing just a little bit, gets that heart rate up, and it stretches those muscles. Little things like that can make a huge difference. And that's sort of what this whole program is about. I'm not telling you have to go out and get a gym membership and start lifting weights and stop eating salt and sugar altogether. I'm telling you, little changes can make a big difference. If you just cut back on the salt and sugar, if you just cut back on the trans fats, if you just do a little bit of exercise, enough to make that heart rate go up. Again, don't do it if you're in pain. Don't do it if your heart's racing so fast you can't catch your breath, you feel like you're gonna pass out. But a little bit of exercise, a little bit of activity will not hurt you, and I promise it won't kill you. It'll help strengthen your body and your heart. Your heart's a muscle, just like anything else. working it out, making it race a little bit is good for it. They do recommend 150 minutes a week of exercise, 10 minutes a time, 3 times a day, if you can do that. That's all you really need. If you can do 10 minutes at a time, 3 times a day, that's 30 minutes a day. You'll have that 150 minutes done in no time. A few days, and you can do that each week. And that's all they're saying is enough to make a world of difference in your health and the health problems. It is best to spread your activities out during the week. You can break it up into smaller chunks of time during the day. And that's why they say like 10 minutes. If you can do 10 minutes, even if you can do 5 minutes and you got to do it a couple times, and spread it out. Like, don't do all 30 minutes at one time, or don't do all 30 minutes on your lunch break. Try to do 10 minutes in the morning, or 10 at your lunch break, and 10 in the evening if you can. Spreading it out like that keeps those muscles and joints from tightening up. And it keeps you limber, keeps all that stuff sort of moving. Again, with the heart, if you exercise it, race it a little bit, it makes it stronger. And why do we want stronger hearts as we get older? Because things happen like heart attacks and heart disease. And if you have a heart attack or you have heart disease and your heart is not up to strength, if it's weak, there's less chance of recovery from those things. If you have a strong heart, if you've been working on your heart for years, and God forbid you have a heart attack or something, it will be in your favor to have a stronger heart. It may not fix everything or cure everything, but it would be in your favor if your heart was stronger, as opposed to, I haven't worked out in 20 years. You know, my poor girlfriend's mother probably hasn't done physical activity in at least 4 years, like other than getting up and walking to the bed and back. She doesn't leave the house anymore, or didn't leave the house anymore. Like I said, back in the beginning of December, she ended up in a nursing home. It just helps keep that stuff loose, keep
This is Seth, we're going.
Okay, go ahead.
So we've heard the 150 minutes a week. That's something we've heard. I've tried to ask 150 total, or is that 150 aerobic, and the muscle strength thing is a little bit more. I've gotten where, no, that muscle strength isn't part of that 150, like lifting weights isn't part of the 150, just aerobic kinds of walking kinds of things. I didn't know if AmeriHealth has a thing about that.
We don't differentiate, I can't even say it. We don't separate it. No, again, this is just, we take information from the FDA, put these PowerPoints together. Our understanding and reading of it was 150 minutes total. You know, whether that's lifting, whether that's walking, just 150 minutes of that exercise, of that activity.
Heart raising.
Your heart race, I don't want to say racing, but raise that heart rate some to where it's okay to break a sweat. It's okay to feel winded. And another thing that I'll tell you that they don't mention in here is, do you ever do something all day long, whether it's decorate for Christmas, or whether it's wrap all their presents, or you bake cookies all day, like my mother does that, once a year with the family. You do all that work in one day, and then at the end of it, you sit back and you feel okay about it. Like, you look at what you've done. Like, if your job was to paint a room or two, and when you first think about it, you're like, oh, this is gonna take all day, this is gonna be awful. And you do it, and you get it done, and you get that sort of smile, that feeling of accomplishment. That's natural. That's not just a feeling of accomplishment. Your brain, when that heart races, when you have to breathe a little heavier, your brain releases natural endorphins that make you smile, that make you happy. If you've ever seen people come out of the gym, a lot of times they're chipper, they're a little bit happier, they have a smile on their face. Going in, maybe not, because a lot of them go in, but working out, raising that heart rate, sweating a little bit, it releases natural endorphins in your brain, that will make you feel good. So it is true, exercise and activity will literally make you feel good. You feel this sense of accomplishment, like I've done something. With the exercise. And this is sort of what you were talking about, cardio versus muscle strengthening and things like that. The cardio is what we've been talking about. Get your breathing hard, get your heart racing a little bit faster. There are things called slow paced cardio. That means that you worked hard enough just to raise your heart rate and break a sweat. And then there's fast paced cardio. That means you've been breathing hard and your heart's been running fast and your heart rate has been going for quite a bit. The difference is slow paced cardio is sort of sitting in a chair doing those exercises or doing that pedal machine in the chair, as opposed to going out and running 2 miles. If you're able to do fast paced cardio, that's great, more power to you. But a lot of my audience, they're not able to do that long term. They're trying to get that 10-minute window, 15-minute window of get the heart rate up, get a little bit of a sweat going, and using that. So they do tell you that. We will say most people try to stay in the slow pace unless you're comfortable doing the running, unless you're comfortable doing the fast-paced cardio. Again, always check with your doctor. You know, some people may think, well, I can do that fast-paced cardio, sure. But they don't talk to their doctor. Please check with your doctor, because that's one thing I am not as a medical professional. I'm an educational professional. Like I take the materials and give it to you. Everybody's different medically. So just please check with them. Oh, I thought I heard somebody say something. I'm sorry. Muscle strengthening. Again, this is where you're doing some sort of work. You don't have to go out and necessarily be pumping iron or lifting weights, but things to strengthen muscles. Exercise your muscles stronger at least 2 days a week. Try to do exercise 2 days a week. Activities should work all the major muscle groups of your body. Again, I know that's hard sometimes. I know a lot of times we have injuries that we're suffering from that movement isn't always there. Or mobility with an arm. I've had shoulder issues. I've seen my mom with shoulder surgery. It is important to exercise those still, even though it may be slightly painful. Again, I don't want anyone to do anything that hurts themselves. But if you've had shoulder surgery, or if you're having a shoulder issue, the last thing you want to do is stop using it completely. The last thing you want to do is limit that, because once you do that, and then it starts to lock up, it'll be even harder to get that loose or to get that movement back. And with surgeries, with time, we do lose some of our mobility. We do lose some of our mobility as to where we can put our arms or where we can stretch. Again, please speak to your doctor about these things, because I don't know if someone does have an injury or something that they need to keep an eye on. But for the most part, if you're quote unquote healthy, try to keep those muscles, try to keep those joints and things moving. These are the muscle groups. I'll leave that up there if you guys want to look at it real quick. If we think about it, we can come up with them. Your legs, your hip, your back, chest, abdomen, shoulders, and arms. So whether that's doing the high knees in the chair, or whether that's doing some stretches. And again, you can do muscle strengthening by just finding a gallon of milk. If that's, that's usually about 5 pounds or so. But if gallon of water, if you have an empty water jug, that's all the more you need to do. You don't need to go out and buy fancy weights. You don't need to go out and, like I said, go in the gym. You can do these things in your own home with a little bit of ingenuity and imagination. You can find ways to strengthen your muscles. Like I say, they show the weights, or they show the gym. So legs, hips, back, chest, abdomen, shoulders, arms. Any questions on how to get those all moving? like I said, there's hundreds, at least dozens, if not hundreds of exercises out there. If you're having trouble thinking of any, or if you don't know who to ask, you can always Google exercises, at home exercises. The internet's full of things. If you're familiar with how to use YouTube, you can go on and pull up any type of exercise video, I think, that's ever been created. So any of those things, if you're looking for ideas, and of course, the library is a wonderful resource to find information. So if you're looking for things like that, if you're looking for types of exercises, let's see here, benefits. These are pretty self-explanatory. Regular activity reduces your risk of high blood pressure and stroke, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, osteoporosis, colon cancer, obesity, anxiety, depression, and better sleep. I think that's written wrong. You don't want to reduce your risk of better sleep. What it's supposed to say is that it will give you better sleep. Sometimes I see things in these, I don't make the PowerPoints, they're just sent to me. But all these other things, you can reduce the risk, and with regular activity, you will get better sleep because your body will feel tired. I go back to personal examples like my girlfriend's mother. She has trouble falling asleep at night. She's not tired because she didn't do anything all day. She got up, she went to the living room, she watched TV, and I can tell you she fell asleep at least 3 or 4 times that day watching TV, because I don't know anyone that can sit there for 10 hours and watch TV without nodding off. But then she couldn't sleep at night. Depression, anxiety, when you can't move, when you feel weak, your anxiety goes through the roof. How am I going to get this stuff done? How am I going to get to this doctor's appointment? And the depression, you feel bad because you're not able to do things that you used to be able to do. Have fun. This is another one of those broader things for ways to wellness. Try to have fun. Try to have things that, if it's activities like dancing, swimming, things, do something you like. Then it doesn't feel so much like work. Doesn't feel so much like exercise. I know hiking and swimming and playing tennis. A lot of times when I go to senior centers, they're like, well, we can't do any of that. But there are things that you can find, whether it's walking around the block or walking around your living facility or anything like that. Just find something that you enjoy. It'll help you relax. It'll help reduce stress. Here's some fun activities, like I said, that can get your heart rate up and get you a little bit of that heart racing and a little bit of sweat brewing. Physical activity. Be safe. Of course, we want you to protect yourself, your family from unhealthy habits. So under that umbrella, broader umbrellas, wash your hands. We learned from COVID that is one of the most important things you can do to stay healthy in this day and age. Before and after you go into a place that's public, whether that's a store, doctor's office, even a library, having hand sanitizer here, having some in your purse or your backpack or your car, just every time, because we realized from COVID that that's something that it's very simple and it can save a lot of health problems by simply washing your hands. Do this, what's this tell you? Keeping your hands clean is one of the best ways to prevent getting sick. Of course, clean hands can stop germs from spreading from one person to another. Even if you're already sick, wash your hands. If you're not sick, wash your hands because someone else who may have been touched that chair, touched that doorknob. I contracted MRSA from a doorknob. Had an open wound, was at work. Didn't know, scratched this wound, and you don't know it at the time until 2 days later, and you have this giant infection. So it can go that fast. Like I said, COVID taught us a lot of that. Another step to being safe. is be prepared for emergencies, have a first aid kit, have a plan. Be informed. What that means is know the fire exit for your building or your house. Know how long it may take a fire company or an ambulance to get to your house. I live at the southern end of the county. If I call an ambulance, they're not there in 10 minutes, I can promise you. If I call the police, they're not there in 10 minutes unless there's somebody already patrolling by. It can take up to a half an hour, 40 minutes till someone gets down to where I'm at. So just be mindful of that. Be informed of, what's going around. If you're a part of a senior center or you're a part of this group and 3 people have had COVID in the last week, it helps to know that. Just be aware, be extra cautious with washing your hands and things like that. And that goes with making a plan. Protecting yourself. Motor vehicles, personal safety, violence prevention. Violence, they make a note, can be physical, mental, or emotional. This is just be able to protect yourself. Know your limitations, know what you expect of people as far as violence. Don't deal with it if you don't have to. Please try to seek help. But also motor vehicles, drive at safe speed, wear your seatbelt. Don't be drinking and driving, don't be texting and driving. And personal safety, just don't risk for things. My mother, who's 81 yesterday, was trying to take Christmas decorations down. And she has a step stool she's standing on. And instead of coming down to go over to get the one she couldn't reach, she sees this wooden end table. She's like, I can just put 1 foot over there and reach it. My 81-year-old mother crashed. That end table basically folded underneath her, and she crashed in behind a recliner with a small little picture case falling on her, and she was stuck there until I got there.
Oh, dear.
She wasn't hurt, thankfully, but again, protect yourself, be safe at all costs. No, don't take unnecessary risk. That's what that means. Know how to protect yourself as far as that. Don't try to take this. I can laugh at it now because she's not hurt, but at the time I was very upset with her. Like, why would you do that? Why? And she's like, well, I gotta do something. And she's very strong-headed. Like I said, my dad's been gone over 20 years. She's just done everything at the house by herself since. And that's the way she is. So you just have to take that into mind. Another thing is protecting yourself is protect your skin, prevent sunburn. These are things for in the summer. Sit in the shade, wear protective clothing, wear protective hats like the sun hat. Wear sunglasses to protect your eyes, sunscreen when you go outside. Again, these 25 ways to wellness are 25 pretty broad things that cover all these aspects. Your skin is important though. If you're out in the sun, if you're out in the heat, please try to have a drink, stay hydrated as well, and seek some shade and things like that. Quit smoking. I won't spend a lot of time on this. It's pretty self-explanatory. If you smoke, I'm not telling you have to quit, but if you want a healthier lifestyle, maybe look into quitting because it would lead to a healthier lifestyle, or it lead to a healthier you as well. There are supports out there. You can learn other skills and behaviors. Lollipops was always a big one when I was little. People would get lollipops, and it's just the idea of having something in their hand and on their lips sort of helped ease the quitting the smoking. There is medicine, but please make sure you talk to your doctor and you use it correctly. These medicines, these patches can be abused as well. So please be careful with that. There is a number there if you want to quit. It's 1-800-QUIT-NOW. And you can speak to someone immediately. Manage your stress. Again, trying to keep a healthier you. Stress condition, we all know, described by symptoms of physical or emotional tension. It's a reaction to a situation where a person feels threatened or anxious. Stress can be positive, like wedding preparations or a big Christmas meal preparation. It's a positive thing, but it can put that negative stress on you. Please try to find a way that you can relieve that a little bit. Or it could be negative, dealing with natural disasters or dealing with a family illness or things like that. It can come in all manners, but when you have stress, you have to find a way to let it out. It's sort of like a steam pot. If you let that steam just keep going in there, it's just going to explode. You've got to have a way to let some of that out, to let that steam out or let it steam off. Balanced life, that's sort of what balance your life between home, work, and play. Understanding that we are not just our job, we are not just a mother or a father, we are all these things. Try to have a balance between them. I know I'm running a little long, I'm trying to wrap up here. Find supports when you feel you need it, whether that's for stress, whether that's for medical, physical or mental. Ask your parent, friend, counselor, someone trusted, a doctor, someone from your church. Talk with them about stress you may be feeling or the problems you may have. Just sometimes being able to talk about that, being able to sit down and just share with someone who may be going through similar or who may have went through a similar problem. Just being able to do that can relieve some of that stress, can take some of that burden off your chest. And you notice that if you ever sit down with someone, friend, family, and you're having a real deep talk, and when you're done, nothing really changed, but you got it off your chest and you feel a little bit better. Again, this is like the smoking one. Try to avoid drugs and alcohol. Again, I'm not telling you you have to quit drinking if you like a drink, but just know that it can have a negative effect, especially too much of it. So please, if you do drink in moderation. And drugs, unless prescribed, try to avoid them altogether. And even if they are prescribed, try to take them as prescribed. That's another thing. People are like, well, it's a prescription. Okay, but are you using it the way it's meant to be? If it says take 1 every 4 hours and you're taking 3 every hour and a half, you're not using that medicine the way it should be, and you're putting yourself in danger. Take care of yourself. Stay active, eat healthy, well-balanced diet, volunteer in your community if you can, help others if you can. It's really, this is what the whole program is about, is sort of just taking care of yourself. If you're able to help others, help others. If you've been through something and you want to share with them, like you see someone who may be struggling with a diagnosis or maybe struggling with something at their house, and you know how to get through it or you've been through it, share with them, try to help them out. My favorite, relax. That's just as important as the exercise. That's just as important as the healthy eating, taking time to relax. Get your recommended amount of sleep. For adults, it's about 7 hours a night. Give yourself a break if you're feeling stressed out. I do that sometimes with my daughter. We both look at each other and go, okay, right now, you go to your room, I'll go outside or go to my room. We'll come back in 15 minutes and we'll start this conversation again. Because sometimes you get so emotional, especially with loved ones like that, and you don't want to say something you regret, or you don't want to do something you regret. So there are times where it's okay to say, I'm out. I need time to breathe. You need time to breathe, and give yourself a break. The 7 hours of sleep, again, it actually diminishes as you get older. So they say younger people should get like 8 to 10 hours of sleep. As we get older, it goes down to like 7 hours, 6 hours sometimes. But talk to your doctor. They can tell you that. That goes to, I think this is one of the last ones. Get regular checkups. Talk to your doctor. Again, I am just someone who gives out information. It's really up to you to take it home and to apply it. Whether that's exercise or diet, but talk to your doctor, get regular checkups, write down a list of issues and questions. That was a thing that was always good for me taking my questions in, because when I got in the doctor's office, I couldn't remember the things I wanted to ask. Review any existing health problems, any body changes that you may be going through. Let them know if you're having any pain, dizziness, fatigue, problems with urine, stool, menstrual cycle, things like that. Please let your doctor know right away. Have your eating habits changed? That means, have you noticed that you no longer have an appetite, or that you've stopped eating? Those are things that aren't just, oh, lucky me, I don't have an appetite anymore. No, that's a sign of something's up, so please talk to your doctor. Experiencing any depression, anxiety, sleeping issues, distress, anything like that, please talk to your doctor. Medicine list. It's always important to know your medicines. If you don't know them offhand, try to have them written down, whether they're on a card in your purse or your wallet. This is important because if something would happen to you where you're incapacitated, like my daughter's mother this morning having a seizure, I don't know her meds. Nobody there knows her meds. So I will recommend to her having a med list in your purse or your wallet, because if something happens to you where you're incapacitated and you can't answer those questions, medics can look it up. Talk about your allergies or reactions you may have with your medicines. Let your doctor know. Tell your doctor about any herbal products. A lot of times people are like, oh, this is over the counter, or this is herbal. I don't have to tell my doctor. You may want to tell them, because sometimes those can interact with the medicines you're taking, and it can lead to some serious interactions. Screenings and vaccinations. Again, this continues with checking with your doctor. Make sure it's time for any screenings, vaccinations, exams. Know your family history. Family history will influence risk of developing heart disease, stroke, anything like that, diabetes. Have close relatives recently been diagnosed with a disease or certain condition. Again, this is all information you'd want to share with your doctor. Take care of your teeth. Be sure they recommend you visit a dentist twice a year. Brush for 2 minutes twice a day with a fluoride toothpaste. A lot of times we get into getting toothpaste nowadays that are for flavor or for this and that, and they may not actually have fluoride in them. Please try to look and make sure your toothpaste has fluoride. It's better for your teeth. It'll make them last longer. Try to floss daily. The floss, I think, is once a day, but they do not recommend that you brush twice a day. These are just important numbers on my end. If you happen to be an AmeriHealth member, there's member services. We do have a 24/7 nurse hotline and a special needs unit. Those are member specific. I don't ask anybody if they're members. Like I said, I'm not here to wave the AmeriHealth flag and sign people up for that. But if you are a member, if you would like these numbers, you can see me afterwards. I can give you all those. And I thought that was it. I knew it was getting close. But I know I went through a lot of those there at the end pretty quickly, but they were pretty self-explanatory, like the smoking and the drugs. I really wanted to spend a lot of time on the diet part and the exercise part. Those are the two main things, is watch what you eat. Years ago, a professor told me that food is medicine. What you put in your body is just as important as what's in a pill bottle that a doctor gives you. So if you're taking all these medicines, but you're eating junk or you're eating crap, so to speak, they can keep putting you on medications, but it's not going to solve the issues. You really want to get to the root of the issues. It comes down to exercise and what you put in your body as far as food. Any questions on those subjects there? I know I buzzed through, like I said, the last couple, but they were pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, I thought your diet information was really helpful.
I hope so. I mean, I didn't give you so